I think that's what's happening with Trump. And to explain what that means is just moments where like you get hit with something and it throws you off so much that you don't even feel like you're even, it's like tunnel vision. It's like, I'm going to annihilate the person across from me. Button. Yeah. It's like, and it happened. I mean, and like he did like devolve into his 12-year-old self.
We can talk about comedian. Do you watch comedy?
I like Nate
Bargatze. Yeah.
He's hilarious.
Nate's
dude,
funny.
him being from Tennessee. No way.
Yeah. When I was in DC,
you went with the team?
And he did. I can't wait till the special comes out because he opens with the story about, he opens with the best story about right after 9/11. He said everyone was on high alert. Yeah. So like everyone was so afraid of everything. So he was in middle of nowhere, Tennessee, and he worked at a water treatment facility and they made him stand guard. So literally they were like, we're afraid that it's going to get hit by a plane or by a bomb. And so his boss made everyone stand guard. Facility. So he's like, we were out there and he's like, and what did he give us to stand guard? He's like, we had to be on the night watch, watching throughout the entire night, day and night. He said, and what did he give us in the night? A bunch of lanterns. He's like, if I'm Osama bin Laden in this situation in the middle, and he's like, remind you, Osama bin Laden in the middle of Tennessee with the rest of Al Qaeda. He's like, if they were to ask me where we're supposed to shoot, I would just say as Osama bin Laden, I don't know, just shoot where you see the lanterns. he's like, why the heck would you give us lanterns to protect a water treatment facility in the middle of Tennessee? I can't wait till it comes out.
Like what his classic bit is the Starbucks bit, right? Yeah. Where he ends up getting milk and ice, and he's like, I get nervous every time I go up there. He'll just have the person read his wife's text to him for the order. He goes, does anyone else just get very nervous when you get to the front of a Starbucks line? They're like pointing back to you as you're 3 people in line deep. They're like, we can go ahead and get your order. And he's like, I'd like to just order when I get up to the front, like every normal establishment. That's pretty good. Noah, big happening recently.
Yes, I was engaged. I got engaged. It's not that I was engaged. I am engaged.
Yeah, I was engaged.
And I got engaged.
Yeah, you did.
And it was pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
It was staged like a kidnapping. So,
that's a great start.
Yeah, it was. So what I did was took this fine lady out to a nice restaurant at Easton. And then afterwards, I went to go blindfold her, and she said she didn't want a blindfold. Yeah. So she just put I had a shirt. It was a black shirt. So she just put the shirt over her head. And I was like, you can't see anything. Then I took her to a place where we had our 4th date, where she was like, I finally like this guy. But you drove around,
and she had a shirt over her
literally.
head.
So
everybody just saw
for 20 minutes
in your car.
So I took her to the place where we had our 4th date, and she decided like I like Noah, which it took her 4 dates to realize that. But anyways, I took her to this date. I recreated this date, and it was at the top of a parking garage. But as we were driving up the parking garage, she was like, and it was hilarious when she said it too, because there were just 2 random guys, but this is an empty parking garage in downtown Columbus. And it feels like it's 50 stories, but she was like, if anyone sees us, anyone sees this man with this white woman with a towel or with a black shirt over her head, driving really fast up a parking garage, like everyone's going to think you're killing me.
Yeah.
But she came down, but I also said, I realized that she came down and she was crying. So I'm kind of like, what did people think happened up there, you know?
Yeah, true.
But we got engaged, came out the ring, and
you did take the shirt off, so like her head. So
I took my shirt off.
You took your shirt off.
Take my shirt off.
You took the let me pull that back.
She's like, oh,
but you did take the shirt off of her head to propose, right?
I did. That's ideal. I took it off. Yeah. We had,
not forget that part.
Some wine up at the top of this parking garage in downtown Columbus. It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. I danced with her.
So Columbus police, you heard it here first. Open container.
Yeah, open container laws for sure.
Nice.
Kidnapping, open container laws, and engagement. You say nice.
I just love when Sam's listening to a story intently and just looking around like, what am I? Yeah, or not.
Nice.
Sam, what do you think about his engagement story? Beautiful, huh?
That reminds me. So our a friend that we have, who will not be named. We were over at his house. Our friend Sam Jones. We were over at this guy's house.
He's now named.
Sam's no. Sam's cool to name in the story. Okay, so Sam's in the story. We're at a friend's house. Okay, you're gonna catch on very quickly. And Sam, we're like with this husband and wife, And Sam just starts pouring out his heart about how his sister was bullied in middle school. And
Oh no.
like going off like a 5-10 minute story about, like I said, I'm just like, well, this is crazy. And then it like stops. And then the guy that we know goes, that's awesome. And then the wife goes, no, that's not awesome.
That's not awesome. That's devastatingly bad.
Yeah. So anyway,
That's awesome.
I was definitely in I was for sure in Fantasyland there.
In a
I'm
zone.
sorry.
Yeah.
I think we should pray.
Okay. What? Right now?
God of war.
No, this is not what we
Bigger
usually
hammer,
do.
hammer, be mighty.
What's that
You said,
from?
I think we should pray. Come
I
on,
don't
bro.
know what it's from.
Dude, that's Hot Rod.
That's Hot Rod.
That's
You would
Hot
hate.
Rod.
You would hate Hot
I've
Rod.
never
for
seen
the
Hot
same
Rod.
reason
Shit,
you're talking
what?
about.
That's a bad. It's bad. I know. I haven't seen it.
You would hate it for the same reason we've been talking about.
No, you
Did
would
that
love
scene-
it. You would love it.
I don't think you would. I don't think you would.
He
Because it's
probably
like
would hate it.
slapstick
No, it's
comedy.
stupid. It's stupid.
It's
humor.
like
Stupid humor.
slapstick.
Do you like
and it just
SNL?
builds.
I like SNL sometimes. Like I like Napoleon Dynamite. Like I think
So
that's
you would.
kinda funny.
You might like Hot Rod.
Okay.
Guys,
Yeah.
I almost lost my member.
Uncle Reed.
You almost lost your what?
Membership.
Member.
Okay.
You ever seen Gold Member? Like the movie?
Like Austin
Austin
Powers?
Powers. I don't think I've seen that.
I
either.
have not seen it.
Oh,
My parents loved it.
Drop like a rock.
Now that we're out here. In
Okay,
this,
so spoiler alert. Shit.
what is happening
No,
right now?
guys,
Sam?
it's the boiler. You know have you seen it? No. Okay, Gold Member. Austin
an old
Powers.
movie.
Okay, he has a golden penis.
Okay.
Okay, he's got a golden penis.
I'm so
I
blown away
about
by what's
lost my member the other day. So,
You almost became a eunuch, is what you're
yeah,
saying. Okay.
I was weightlifting, right? So I'm working out, and we are
we are way out here.
we are
we're on a limb.
we're pushing for our heaviest 1 rep deadlift. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's a climbing. So in order to not get injured, you have to start out at a smaller weight. I'm like legitimately crying. My eyes are watering.
Yeah.
You almost lost
So-
your member.
You have to start at a smaller weight so you don't get injured, right? So you climb
Yeah.
over time. So I
Yep.
started off at like 135 and I'm climbing. My 1 rep max is 365 pounds. Okay. And so I get to about 325 pounds. And the way that our gym operates is there's these 45-pound rubber plates. All right. They're stacked up on a pole. All right. It's a very humid, hot day in this gym. And I go over to grab a 45-pound weight and I pick it up. It's about 4 feet tall. And it slips out of my hand, and I'll stand a little too close to the pole, and a 45-pound weight fell on my penis. On top of another, just clip my dick,
Did you go to the bathroom?
dude. I yelled some
Yeah.
obscenities, and then I promptly went to the bathroom to make
Yeah.
sure I didn't need to go to a trauma unit. And I was fine. I was bleeding just a little bit, but I did go back. And I finished that deadlift.
Yeah.
And you know
Sam.
what? I broke my PR.
Good.
Hey!
And by PR, you mean personal record, right?
Yeah,
not another kind of wacky thing. Okay.
Got 1 rep of 405 pounds.
Dude,
Good job.
But yeah, dude, I about lost my penis. So
we're only 2 episodes in, but I think that's the best
That's
story
long-
we've
that's
ever
pretty
had on
cool.
an episode.
So I've had different mishaps. You guys know me. I'm kind of klutzy. So I go fall upstairs and stuff.
Yeah.
I
Or
like,
zone out during like
Yeah.
a buddy's
Yeah.
engagement story.
so like there's been multiple times where during different lifting movements I've like smacked myself in the throat with like the bar.
oh man.
Yeah, it just has happened. Yeah, all these people out here like this guy's a psycho. So I'll tell Whitney this, and inevitably Judah overhears this stuff. And so Whitney is coming to work out. I switch her out, and I'm telling her over the phone about what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I get in the car, and Judah goes, "Daddy, you pinched your penis?" You pinched your penis? I'm like FaceTiming my dad, and he's like,
That's
"Hey,
amazing.
Grandpa, Daddy pinched his penis." So I
Your
had to
dad's
tell-
like, what are you
Oh,
talking
man.
about?
But it got me like thinking, I'm like, I don't know. Like, where did we start calling them dicks? Well, where did that come
Good question. Good
from?
question.
Where did that come from?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to go to Noah
Like-
on this one, Noah.
Like, why do we
If
call
I
it
had
a
to
dick?
guess, this is purely a guess. Is there's a guy, Richard. So there's
Yeah.
a guy named Richard who was probably just a jerk. And they're like, you're a penis, but they just said you're a dick.
Jack, can you look this up and then let us know which one of us is the closest to it?
Yes.
Is that going to be our
Filtered
first? That's our search. Like that's our
Filtered
first
search.
throw over.
Why?
Where
Make sure
did-
you clear that cache afterwards.
Yeah,
Where-
what are we doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think it's a fair question. I bet it was a guy named Richard who was a jerk, and they were like, "You're
being a dick."
It's a fair question.
But then where does that doesn't even make sense? Because where does dick Why is Dick short for Richard?
Yeah, no, that is a very valid question.
Yeah, good point. Well, Jack's short for John. So is it just like a...
What is it?
Not short. Jack wouldn't be short for John. It's the same amount of letters.
I'm sorry if I
Jack's
screwed this up.
I don't think you screwed anything up. Is that what you were thinking about when you were sharing his engagement story?
That's why he said... What did he say?
That's why I want to see how you climb your way out of this one, Brad.
I thought he said,
That's nice.
This is great. So,
and then he said, let's pray.
Jack, are you actually looking it up?
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out where to go. I know that
I think we should stay until we figure this out.
How about this?
Really?
Don't be a dick.
How about what?
I like that. Yeah, to launch us in.
Well, how about this?
Well, for anyone that's still listening, this is episode 2 of Modern Man. And we're excited to talk today about other things besides,
flaccid penises.
Yeah, getting stuck in between two weights.
Flaccid.
Okay, so
cut me off.
Last episode, if you were listening,
this is a men's podcast. Okay.
Last episode, we talked a little bit about rediscovering the fight. So for our first episode, we thought that it was worth addressing just something we thought that masculinity had lost that it needed to regain or rediscover. And we talked a lot about just what the fight means, where the fight matters, and all that. And for today, we realized that we probably could talk about that particular subject. You guys are still losing it for like 5 episodes, but we're going to try to do it with a second episode. And and we're going to... I'm not sure what just happened.
Did he just cough his water out?
Is Sam? I'm not sure. Okay. Well, yeah. We're good. Just keep going. Okay. Anybody? Do we have a nurse on hand? Jack, can you look up closest nurse to this location? Okay. Well, what was I doing? Even should we just go back to the beginning of your story of engagement? You think?
No, this is great. Did we figure it out, Jack?
What?
Did we figure out what happened? Did you give up?
I looked at it and it's a long list of like stuff you'd have to read.
Did you get anything?
It just started. Okay, so what I found is it started as like slang in like the 17th century.
Started as slang.
Jeez.
Okay. And I think it was a guy named Richard Head, a dick.
Yeah.
Dickhead.
No, you don't have to. I get what you're saying. Okay.
But it is like there's a whole like list of like, stuff.
This is okay. Perfect. So this is where we're at. Sam, thank you.
Let's just start talking. The people love this. Give the people what they want.
The people what they want. Good. So I think.
Ready.
Well, no. What I was saying ultimately, I think we could talk about the fight for like every episode of Modern Man. We want to get into other arenas in this podcast, but we did want to at least give it a second shot. And again, the rediscover angle really says, okay, there's something that's been lost that we want to rediscover. And the redeem angle says something like there is an aspect of this that's around, but it's not as it should be. Like, again, because the idea is you can talk to anyone in the world and you ask them, shouldn't say the world, the Western world, are men who they should be? And they'll say no. And then you're like, okay, well, who should they be? And usually they'll have a variety of things that they need to either get back to doing or get away from doing. And redeem is kind of that idea of how can we get away from certain flaws in the fight that we have as men in the world today. And for that, Noah, you got a story.
So I'm just not going to make eye contact with Sam. I think this whole time I have the giggle. I think I'm starting to laugh and I just can't even.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay. We're talking about the fight. I was really excited coming into today because the thing that's been kind of dwelling on my mind is the debate. Okay. So the travesty of that debate, right? So it was awful.
Presidential debate, yeah.
Yes, the presidential debate. So what I was thinking about as I was kind of like just reflecting was this reality. And I said it before the debate started. I literally was like, because everyone's like, Trump's going to dominate. He's had way more reps than Kamala. Kamala's brand new. She can't talk. She can't articulate. Like, he's going to dominate this debate. And I'm like, I'm telling you, because I have a very strong memory of in 2020 when he debated Biden the first time, and I was like, I'm a big Trump fan, and I didn't want to vote for Trump. Yeah, I was like, I don't want to vote for this guy. And so what I was telling my friends, I'm like, I'm telling you, going into this debate, like I love Trump until Trump debates, and then I hate Trump. And what I was recognizing as I was kind of like reflecting on it was, we know what happened at the debate, right? So he made himself look like a fool in many ways. And what I recognized is I walked away from that debate, and gosh, I had a family member who was like blowing my phone up. They're going to be a first time Trump voter, but they can't stand the guy, and so they're blowing up my phone, talking all about all the different things that he said, the dogs and cats, all the crazy stuff, right? That's so he said all these things, and I'm like, I'm trying to defend this guy, and I really am having a hard time defending him, and I'm like, what is it about Trump that I love him when he's not debating, but then when he debates, I want to like punch him in the mouth. And what I realized is the thing that I love about Trump, and more so what he stands for, is a radical fight for freedom. Like he radically fights for freedom. Like I'm sick and tired of seeing over my lifespan this reality that it's the Ronald Reagan quote. He says I might be paraphrasing, but he says the 4 worst words you can hear from government is "we're here to help," right? And it's this reality of like the government thinking they don't know me, but they think they know what's best for me, right? And so there's this nurturing, like inappropriate nurturing that the government wants to have when really it's just control, but they call it something else. Control, power. But it's this control and power in this reality that like the 9 of the 13 richest or maybe it's 11 of the 13 richest richest counties are surrounded DC, right? So 11 of the 13 richest counties surround DC in the US. And it's this reality of like, they want control, and they want power, and they want money. And so it's this drain the swamp, like Trump reality that I love, right? That he's a guy that fights for freedom, and he fights for freedom in a way that's so aggressive, right? In this way of like, screw you. Like if you try to come and control me, I'm just going to call you out straight for who you are, right? Like when he talks to reporters, when he just calls out people right to their face, he's like, screw you, you're trying to control me. But there's this other piece that I'm like, when you talk on a debate stage with this other, and you're going back and forth with this other person, I'm like, what is it that just makes me like disgusted, to like embarrassed that I want to vote for you, right? Like, and if I had, and that's what I want to talk about today is like this, he there's something that needs to be redeemed, because he is fighting, and he's fighting for freedom. So, from what it looks like. And so he has this fight that we love. And we talked about fight last week, and we're going into what we're talking about this week with fight. And so he's fighting for freedom, but there's something that clearly needs to be redeemed in the way he's fighting, right? The fight that he's bringing. And so if I had to pin it, like, and I think that's what I want to open up for us to talk about, is like, it has something to do with his, it seems very egotistical. It seems like, what it honestly feels like is when I was 12-year-old at recess, right? When I was a 12-year-old at recess and somebody insulted my character, insulted something about me, I would just immediately, without thinking, attack them, right? And it's like, he'll start out like, he started out really strong on the debate stage. He said a few good things, and then she immediately goes at like his crowd size. Yeah, starts insulting him. It's like it's like 20 devolved minutes in, and she into a 12-year-old. Yeah. It's like he turned into a 12-year-old and was like, my crowd size is bigger. Like, yeah, you pay people to come to your crowds. And it's like, wait, hold on. This woman already is like completely inept. And she debated actually very well, but she's completely inept in her policy. She has no idea what she's talking about. She has no real credibility to be in office at all. She's already been in there 3.5 years and completely failed. And he knows that. Yet all she had to do was mention his rally crowd size, and he devolved into a 12-year-old. And so I want to open it up. Like, what is that? Because there's the fight, and there's something good about that fight for freedom. And there's something good about just the fight that he carries. Yeah. But then there's this part that definitely needs redeemed that I don't have my full grasp on what that is.
Yeah, man, there's a lot. We actually watched the debate together. Yeah. Sam and I.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
Yeah. But it seemed to me to be very similar, that like the fight that Trump tends to rally his base behind is the same fight that gets him in trouble and makes him incredibly dislikable. or unlikable. I don't actually know which word it is, but I think it's because people respect a fight when it's after purpose and after mission and after value. And people don't respect a fight when it's after you protecting yourself. Like, so I think it actually comes to like a fundamental flaw of egotism in Trump, that like, because I think deep down Trump is, I think deep down Trump is self-conscious. And I think because of that, whenever things get slung at him that he thinks prove his adequacy, he can't avoid punching it. And I've noticed that really since he first kind of hit, because he's good at like counter punching, and he's good at like tearing down things, so demolition. But I've always wondered, like, how effective is he at constructing things? And now, like when he was in office, he constructed a lot better than I thought. But he also surrounded himself with people that knew how to fight for purpose. So yeah, I know that us watching it, like you saw me. I mean, I was like cringing the whole time. Yeah, because I'm like, man, what is happening? Like, how can you not keep yourself like above that? The low level insult.
Yeah, I think it's because there's probably like a misinterpretation that to fight means you have to throw a punch, or you have to, you have to be aggressive, right? Like I think there is this misinterpretation of what fighting means. And I think to the point you're bringing up, like this whole egotism, like there's this saying that I go back to a lot, and it's actually was made famous by an author named Ryan Holiday. It's called Ego is the Enemy. So it's all founded in like the book I have here, Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics talk about this idea of like egotism and focusing on one's ego is the enemy of character. It's the enemy of integrity. And when I think about a man's life, like it's actually very embarrassing to think about the way that he conducted himself on stage. Right. So, I mean, I think what a better way to fight than to be able to say, I know what you're doing here, and I'm not gonna stoop to that level, right? Yeah, that's right. There's this, because there's some sort of admiration there, right? Yeah. Like I think, were we talking about 42 during this? Or 41? What's the Jackie
42.
Robinson? No, we were just joking
42. Yeah.
So have you guys seen that movie before?
Oh yeah,
I have.
Okay,
it's
so
awesome.
It's an awesome movie. I watched another movie similar about race. It was about the Latino golfers in Texas. It's called The Long Game. It's amazing. You'd love it. But it was all about, both of those happen in a time where both, Black individuals as well as Latinos were not well respected by, whites. And it's like
Texas Southern, the basketball team too.
Yep. There's a turning point in both of those stories of these golfers in Southern Texas, and then in 42 with Jackie Robinson, where when they stopped rising or stopped lowering themselves to the standard of the people around them, because they just wanted to get a rise out of him, right? They knew that Jackie was better, right? And so like what you said about Burrow yesterday is, it's actually funny when people ever like trash talk a threat, or trash talk someone, it's because they know they're the threat, right? Yeah. And so all throughout that movie of 42, they're trying to get a rise out of Jackie to get him to get thrown out of the league, or to get him to, but he doesn't go there, right? There's this, he
stays above the fray,
right? There's this importance to, what does it mean to redeem the fight? It means you don't have to throw a punch. Like I think it's actually, and that's the message of when Jesus talks about like turn the other cheek, right? It's actually not one of, I'm going to, I'm just this pacifist, like slap me on the other cheek. No, it was actually this Jewish thing that was like, I'm actually not going to go anywhere. And if you want to hit me, you've got to hit me with the unclean side of your hand. Yeah. Right. So like they would hit him with the back of the hand. Yep. If you want to hit me, you got to hit me with your unclean side of your hand. So there's this importance of, I'm going to stand in the gap, and I'm not going to succumb to your scare tactics here. Yeah.
Well, because we know that. You mentioned the 12-year-old thing. Like you when you're younger, when you were really susceptible to like an insult, because there was an area of your identity that was fragile, or there was an identity that you weren't confident enough in yet. Yeah. And then you see this angle that this person's also seeing, and they're taking it, and your immediate reaction is to fight in defensiveness, but not defending a value, not defending a morality, defending a vulnerability. And I actually think there's like a real strength in being like, I'm not going to defend that vulnerability. Like I'm actually like, they're coming at this. And at the end of the day, like, what would it look like? I mean, like if Trump, let's say she does do that, like, what would it look like? I just don't think he's capable of it in how he currently operates. But like, what would it look like if he was just like, to the degree of crowd size, I know I've made a big deal out of that in the past, but really we know that at the end of the day, people that come to those crowds are just people that are coming to listen to a different vision for the country. Like if he just goes and spins it right into let me fight for the right thing.
Right.
Like everyone would that would rally his base. That would get 100%. People on his team, but he can't do it. And why is that? I think it's because the part of the fight that he hasn't redeemed yet is that he still fights for himself. That even when he speaks fighting for other people, when push comes to shove, right? When it's really heated, which you mentioned, like until he debates, like when push comes to shove, his default is like, oh, I don't want to be humiliated.
Yeah, and no one likes a whining baby, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
No.
Like
right. And that's
one of the
biggest,
most, absolutely. That's one of the most,
yeah.
honestly, I mean, I know you're not there yet with, with Eliza, but it's like one of the hardest things for a parent to hear is kids whining. I'm like, just shut up. Like seriously, there is this annoyance of just like, you are, and it's to some degree it's merited, right? My kids are 3, 4 years old.
Sure.
But truly like whine, and to see that on a stage of like, you are a 70-year-old man. I'm not trying to drag on Trump here because I want to make a dichotomy, right? So what was probably one of the most like prolific moments of his presidential run over the last
probably his life
when he almost got shot. And he gets up and he's like,
he did get shot. Yeah.
That's right. There's something about that that's right.
No, why? Because in that moment, he's not focused on himself. He's not focused on, Kamala. It's I just about took a bullet for the country.
Yeah.
Fight. Goes off the stage. That was one of the most inspiring things. People are moved to tears.
Completely.
People were talking about it. I know you got left and right coming together saying like, this man's a stand-up man. But then he gets this moment where he can carry that same attitude of this isn't about me. This is about America. Well, it's like everything you're saying right now is making it seem like it's about you.
Yes.
Which I think that's the ugly part of our hearts as men. And I think we can fall into this. And I think we do fall into this. So that's why I don't want to make this about Trump. I want to make this about masculinity.
Right. Sure.
All of us fall into this. Of this
1000%.
This idea where we can be selfless, right? We can be a man of self-gift. But then there are these days where we choose selfish actions, or we think about our own thoughts, or we think about our own desires, we pursue what's going to make me happy. And ultimately, I think that's where one of the greatest downfalls for us is when we start going from self-gift to self-seeking. Because it was when we talk about this idea of freedom, John Paul II, he talked about how freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is to do what you ought. So to truly be free isn't, I can do whatever I want with my life. To be free is to be, I'm actually going to see what I should do.
I can choose the good.
It.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad you did that too, because I think we could easily just be like Trump.
Me too.
But what I mean, even just in what you guys are both saying, a phrase comes to mind that Brad, you say a lot, which is like, you call it seeing red, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's happening with Trump. And to explain what that means is just moments where like you get hit with something and it throws you off so much that you don't even feel like you're even, it's like tunnel vision. It's like, I'm going to annihilate the person across from me. It's like, and it happened. I mean, like he did like devolve into his 12-year-old self. That's what, and I do it too. Like there are multiple examples I can think of where like somebody points out, like they point out something that I didn't prepare.
Yeah.
And therefore I notice that they're pointing towards my not being good enough. And my not being good enough button, like if that gets hit, then I'm going to destroy the person across from me. And I'm seeing red, right? Like it's like I can't see anything else but just the person in front of me, and I need to destroy them. And I think that's what, and it's sad because he's in his 80s and this is where he's at. Like it's a sad, to me, that's very sad that, you know, as a 27-year-old, I'm starting to try to delve into these things now, but he's 80 and this is still happening, right? That in front of America, that's what they're seeing is this 12-year-old who is insecure, right? And inadequate.
That's right.
And I think we all experience that too, where we have this moment. I am sure one of you guys has a story. I can't think of one like right off the top of my head, but these moments where inadequacy is pointed out to us and we have to, because it's like, just our instinct, our natural instinct to go and defend ourselves, because what we're doing really is we're defending that kid when he felt inadequate the first time.
That's right.
And so we're defending the little boy inside of us who got made fun of at the age of 12. And we're saying, I never want that. I know how terrible that pain was so terrible that I never want to feel that again. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to annihilate anything or anyone that I'm protecting. It's my protector. So I'm going to annihilate anything or anyone that's going to point to that pain that I experienced when I was a kid.
Totally. It's like an older brother protecting a younger brother, but both of the brothers are you. That happens all the time. It happens all the time. Mine's like, if I feel like I'm in like a work related meeting or some kind of like arena where I feel like I'm bringing something to the table that's valuable. If I feel like I'm ever challenged in my competency to purposefully get me away from the table, I get so defensive. So let me put it like this. Like if I find myself in a meeting where we're all presenting different like angles on something, and I present my angle on that given thing, and someone calls out how I don't know what I'm talking about because this one thing, which like begins like moving me out of the in group, I get so tempted to just ad hominem and destroy everything about that person. Like take the angle. And I think it does come from that, from like protecting an area that once was humiliated and that still has a wound to it. And I've, like you said, Noah, been doing a lot of work on trying to get out of that. And here's my thing. I'm working on it as I'm kind of externalizing, but how often do we just chalk up? Like how many conversations have we heard since the presidential debate that immediately goes to, it was 3-on-1. Yeah, well, like he had a right to start. And it's like, wait, but we're defending defensive, selfish behavior. Yeah. Like that's what we're doing. Totally. We're making an argument so that we win, not so that he gets better. And again, like I'm someone that's going to vote for him, but I'm like, no. I don't want to make excuses. Like we all should get better. Like I don't want to make an excuse for me. So if I blow that up, even if the person was meaning to humiliate me, even if they did have malicious intent, I still am in control of Brad. Like I'm not swayed by the winds of the moment. I'm stable. It's like what you were saying in that biblical passage. Like I'm right here. Mm-hmm. Like I am right here. I'm not running away. I'm not having to flex or like puff out my chest. It's the idea of meekness. Like I have a strength, but it's under control, and I can use it deliberately for a purpose and for an end that's not just self-preservation. Mm-hmm. You know, that at the end of the day, self-preservation, I don't need to preserve myself. I want to give myself away. I want to pour everything out. And I want to be the man that I am always. I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not. So like, even when people like, when I'm at my best, even when people point out a shortcoming in me, I'm able to just be like, yeah, I really want to work on that. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think so when even in this could be tangential, but like, even when it comes to Trump, I'm like, I don't think, because you'll say this too, like Trump's number one fight is for himself. Yeah. I'm like, I actually don't think that's true.
Sure.
I think that Trump actually does want freedom. I think that Trump actually does want a country. I think he does love America. I do, because everyone's like, he doesn't love America, he loves himself. I think he loves America. I think there's a part of him that when he gets cornered and it's that inadequacy, he responds that way. And we all have that. And so even just going back to what we talked about last time we were together, it's like, we talked about the other side of like, you need to fight. You need to redeem the fight of a man. Right. Mm-hmm. But then on the other side of that, when we fail, because we all admitted the areas in which we failed last time when we were talking about the competition story. Yep. The next step to that is, okay, we need to be masculine. We need to fight. But then we shouldn't just say, and we failed, we need to do better next time. We need to actually say we failed and we need to ask why. Like, I know, like, I'm just thinking about this now. Like, I know when I play basketball and I got into a heated argument. Gosh, this would have been in early May, late April. I got into a heated argument because I'm playing and I'm not playing as well as I typically do. And I feel like I need to keep up the facade that Noah, wherever he goes, is the best basketball player on the court. Mm-hmm. Why? Mm-hmm. Because there have been times where that was exposed that I wasn't. and it was painful in my life and I got made fun of for it. And I got, people would talk trash about me. And I probably stems back to me getting cut from the basketball team when I was a sophomore.
Yeah.
Right. And so forever I've been trying to, since my 14-year-old self or 15-year-old self got cut from the basketball team, I've been trying to prove everyone wrong and prove to everyone that I'm a good basketball player. So when somebody's preventing me from doing that, I'm going to attack them verbally and physically because I'm like, no, you can't bring me back to that place of pain. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a place on the court, like, because we were talking about a court story last time where I saw red, I couldn't think of anything else. And I pulled a Trump and I'm like, no, I'm going to, devolve into my 15-year-old self and destroy this person across from me because I can't have them believe what I already believe about myself and what I can't experience the pain of having somebody believe it like when I did when I was 15.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, that's why I'm so big on the redeem side of things. Cause I'm like, we're all good. We all are made good. Right. Mm-hmm. So we are born good. It is the things that happen to us in our life. And then the way in which we go by, respond to them and go about protecting ourselves that then cause us to act in a way that when we're really good, like we're doing all the right things as men and we get older, there's still these little parts of us that pop out when they get poked.
Yeah.
And I think that's the piece that like, I want to talk about a little bit of redeeming that fight of, okay, we need to rediscover that fight, but we also need to redeem the part of the fight so that we can be the greatest warriors we possibly can be.
Yeah. I think it's also accepting, like, I mean, we have to be in a position where we acknowledge we are broken. Like every single one of us is broken. Okay. The object of life is not moral perfection. Like, I don't believe that life is summed up in just being morally perfect and striving to be morally perfect. Because the truth is every single one of us is it is human nature that every single one of us is going to struggle. Like that is, and this is a crazy thing again, as like Christian men, that we live in this weird paradox that God asks us to live in a way that is holy, in a way that is saintly, but also recognizes our limitations, that no matter how hard we try, no matter how much we rely on his grace, we are going to fall. We're going to experience failure. We're going to experience struggle. We're going to experience heartache. And that's a beautiful outlet for the fight. Like when we think about like, what are you fighting for? Like, it's not going to look like taking down Goliath every day. Like we're not going to have these debates, or we're not going to have these people we're punching. There's going to be these moments where we're going to be able to exercise virtue.
Yes.
And I think for me, that's why I'm like, I harp on so much of it's just virtue. I think virtue is the arena that we go back to time and time again, where we can engage the fight in a way where I'm like, okay, today, am I going to get pissed off at my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old because I'm here, I've had a long day and this is real. I mean, like my wife's working out and I'm like, these kids are driving me nuts.
Yep.
Am I going to engage in impatience and in reaction as opposed to responding, right? That's something that in the masculine heart is like, do I want to react to everything or do I want to respond to it?
Yeah.
There's two very different things. Reacting is, I'm going to freak out at everything. Oh, everything's happening to me, instead of being like, no, I am self-possessed.
Yep.
I control my life.
I choose,
right? Everything's on my terms.
Yep.
Like I'm not a passive bystander to life. Life is in my court. Like I can choose here. But the moment this is the battleground, this is the fight, is that so often we as men abdicate our authority there. Like so often, and we're so quick to freaking judge ourselves. So I think like in the midst of abdicating, we're also so quick to just bludgeon ourselves with, oh, I'm just horrible. Like I'll never get better. And I think that is one of the most poison darts that we experience is shame, condemnation, but then also laziness to not get back in the fight. So those are some of the thoughts that come to my mind, but I think,
no, I'm in complete agreement. I've been wrestling it out. It's hard to really like put a cap on it for me, but I do think there's a reality that whenever we orient ourselves to self-preservation or self-promotion, people don't respond favorably. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm thinking about this now. As men, we're called to be leaders. We're called to lead our families. We're called to lead our communities. We're called to lead. And there's a beauty to that. And there's a struggle that comes with that call. And the struggle is, again, knowing what to fight for. And what we're fighting for has to be so ingrained in us that we choose the fight every time for the purpose of self-gift, not for self-preservation, not for self-promotion, for self-gift. I fight so that I can lay my life down for a cause. Maybe that cause is me getting more excellent, like we were talking about the basketball tournament. And because as I get more excellent, I'll raise a greater family. And as I raise a greater family, generations will be impacted after me, so on and so forth, right? But like the moment that I, as Brad, or Donald Trump as Donald Trump, engage in the fight to preserve a part of me that I see as a vulnerable like gap, or to promote myself, which is the other part of Trump that I can struggle with. You were mentioning a little bit, like it's not just to me that he self-preserves, he self-promotes all the time. So it's always like, I'm the greatest ever. I did the greatest things ever. It's like, wait, but why has it got to be this volatile move between self-preservation and self-promotion? Why can't it just be, I was able to be a part of that. And I'm really grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the next opportunity to be a part of something huge. Yeah, exactly. It's the same because that same root of inadequacy pulls us to those two things. Yeah. So in some scenarios I want to preserve, but in other scenarios I want to let people know all the things I'm doing in my life. I want to let people know that I'm staying up later than them and getting up earlier than them and reading more books than them and lifting more weight than them and praying more prayers than them and whatever the thing is. All of a sudden it becomes this attainment, right? Like, and I find it in myself all the time. It's like, let me let you know how much I do compared to you.
Yes.
And it's like, whoa, that's a promotion.
Yeah,
right.
The narrative. Yeah,
it's that exact same thing that pulls whenever I'm defending that 12-year-old boy. I'm either promoting the 12-year-old and telling you how good he is, or I'm protecting him. I think the real integration is when I'm like, I'm doing all of these things in my life and I want to share them with you because if you're anything like me, you want to get better and I need to get better every day. So I need to choose to do things late because that matters. I need to choose to do things early because that matters. You see how you can just immediately reframe it just from a different heart stance. It's not, I'm learning more and more. It's really the heart we take into things oftentimes more than the thing itself. That's not always true. Obviously I'm not painting with like a broad brush, but it's like, it's not whether or not I'm talking about my success. It's how I'm talking about them. It's not whether or not I'm wrestling with this thing I'm struggling with. It's how I'm wrestling with that thing. And I think as men, if we can avoid these pitfalls of self-preservation and self-promotion, and we can live in this middle of self-gift, like where can I channel my gifts, strengths, disciplines, virtues to create?
Well, what's the space there though? Because I think so I hear that and I hear where you're coming from, but I think the thing I struggle with though is I also know people's tendency. So like the self-promotion stuff. I'm using my own personal experience here, right? So I am pretty open about the disciplines I've taken in my life, right? To different brothers, right? So it's like the morning routine I've taken on of like getting up at the time I'm AM, which is not an easy time to get up. Like I'm trying to, and it doesn't happen every day, but I'm trying to get up about 4:45, right? So 4:45 is when I'm getting up. But the intention by my heart is I want to, like, you've got the bracelet on, I got the bracelet on, you got the bracelet on. It's like discipline is freedom, right? Like when you discipline your body, you bring freedom into your life. And so it's like, for me, I think, and maybe this isn't where you were going, but I think it almost makes it seem like, then what is it then if you can't talk about it or if you can't express the merit in it?
Yeah, sure.
You know, like, do you understand where I'm going here? Like there's this, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is to what degree is that something where it's like I'm doing something really good here. And then what point of that is poking other people? Does that make sense? Where you're like, you're just triggered because you don't do it.
That's a good question.
That's what I'm saying is like, I hear people sometimes be like, well, you're just doing off your merit. Well, it's like, really? Cause I just think you're lazy. Like, I just think you don't get up to your alarm.
That's a good question.
I just think you're not willing to do hard things. Like, it's not whether or not it's not that you don't have the time to do it. You just don't prioritize doing it. So that's where I get triggered. It's like, I want to share a quote real quick, cause this is actually where that comes from for me. So if you guys have ever seen, there's this movie about Navy SEALs. I think it's, I actually don't remember what movie it's called, but at the very end of it, they quote this warrior chief from the Shawnee tribe named Tecumseh from the 1800s. He says, so live your life so the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion, respect others and their views, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life, perfect your life, beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long and of service to your people. Prepare a noble death song over the day when you go over the great divide. Always a word or a sign or a salute when meeting or passing a stranger in a lonely place. Show respect to all people, but grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the light, for your life and your strength. Give thanks for the food and the joy of your living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies within yourself. Touch not the poisonous fire water that makes wise ones turn to fools and robs them of their visions. When your time comes to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with fear of death. So when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home. And I think for me, that is just like, that fires me up, because it's like, I don't look at this as like some sort of accomplishment that I've, done. It's just, I want to love my life. I want to perfect my life. I want to beautify all things in my life.
Yeah. Well, I think a big, so
I wrestle with it.
Yeah. What we're all saying right now, I think is summed up. So I had a great conversation with, this would have been a year and a half ago almost, with a Catholic priest. And he talks about this, what they've done to revise a lot of what the college Catholic seminarians are doing in the Catholic Church. And so he's kind of overseeing a certain seminary of Catholic guys that are studying to become priests. And they used to have these different pillars they were focused on, but now they're kind of focused on what they call quadrants. And the quadrants are these four things, which we've mentioned, all of us have mentioned in this podcast already. But the first one is self-awareness. So it's this ability, Sam, you've hit it really well, and Brad, you have too, of I'm broken. I am broken. I am aware that there are areas in my life in which I am not perfect. Like, first and foremost, self-awareness. I'm aware that I'm broken.
I'm also aware that I'm good.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm also aware that I'm good, but it's this full picture of awareness.
Yeah.
Because Sam, you wouldn't have started working out if you weren't aware that was a place in which you were lazy in your life, right? Or is something to that degree. So awareness,
a trend.
Then self-acceptance. So I then have to, and this is where we get to Trump, and this is where we get to ourselves a lot of times. He's never accepted his inadequacy, right? Because if he was able to accept his inadequacy, then he would say, I know I'm an idiot sometimes.
Yeah,
I know I talk about myself.
I know I blunder around in my words. Like, I'm not direct and succinct. And
exactly. Like, I know and I have a lot of gifts.
I bloviate.
I have a lot of, like, I put together really great teams to create probably the greatest economy that we've seen in this country in a long time. And I've put together a team to put together the 4 best years. And I Roe v. Wade, I overturned Roe v. Wade. Like, he has an amazing track record, but he's not able to see, okay, I have really good, and then I struggle in certain areas. He hasn't accepted that. And so,
because you're moving from self-awareness to self-acceptance.
So the self-acceptance says, okay, like in your example, Sam, like I've been lazy. I've been lazy. And I have to accept that in that, and we as Christians would say, in that God still loves us. And that should give us the encouragement and the inspiration to do something more.
Well, but to accept the successes and the exact same thing. And God loves me there too.
Exactly. But the next step after that, so self-awareness, I'm aware of this brokenness. I accept that I have the good and the bad, and it's in me, and God still loves me in it. And so then the next step is, okay, self-possession, which you said, right? So the next step is, okay, now what do I do about it? Like, in so many Christians, we see this where they're so aware, and so many secular world too, so aware of all their problems. I have anxiety disorder. I have all these things, the labels, and it's all of this awareness without any acceptance.
You're just a victim to it.
And then some Christians, we have a lot of Christians who are like, I accept that God loves me in my brokenness.
I love His mercy.
I can be fat. And I can be and God loves me in it. So I can still sin and suck at it, but God loves me. But they never get to the step of, okay, these things are true. And now He wants to co-labor with me. He wants to do something with me so that I can be transformed, because that's what we're going at. That's the quote you read.
So my weaknesses can be strengths, and my strengths can be found in Him. It's again, from both. It's because I'm possessing it fully.
Exactly. It's live your full life. Like now it's time to go. Now it's time to be transformed. And so these disciplines you've taken on, Sam, that you've talked about, that's the self-possession you're talking about. Like, I'm not a slave to my environment. My environment is I'm the master of my environment.
I'm making choices. I'm stewarding my life.
Exactly. Which then has to then lead to, which is where I think is the difference between self-promotion and
self-gift.
Self-gift is that's the next one, is self-gift. So self-awareness, which leads to self-acceptance, which leads to self-possession, which leads to self-gift.
Yeah.
And that's the difference is, Sam, you're not, this is why I would say you're not I've never felt like you're promoting yourself when you're talking to me about these things, because what you're saying when you're talking about these things is, I'm aware that I suck. I've accepted that I suck. And now I'm working to not suck.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want you to suck.
Yeah.
And because of that, I want to share my story about how I'm trying not to suck. And it's because you don't want other people to suck, because you're being a self-gift. And when we become fully that possessed individual, then I mean, just we've all been around Navy SEALs. Like my brother-in-law is in some doing a lot of amazing stuff in the military. And when you're around these dudes, like when I'm around my brother-in-law, I want to be better.
Yeah.
We've been around men like that.
Yeah.
Them being self-possessed in and of themselves, they don't have to say many words. You just being around them, they're emanating self-gift because of how possessed they are, and you want to be better because of it.
I completely agree.
I think that's the difference between self-promotion is I always joke that when somebody has to say a statement of like, my girlfriend's hot, it's like, well, do you believe that? Because if you had like, when you actually have a really hot girlfriend, it's awkward if you actually said it out loud.
I think
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's where I'm getting at, because I see your rub, but I get rubbed sometimes. I don't think it happens as much with you, Sam. I'm trying to like really assess my own heart. I think that it is always better to have your successes told by others. I think as a general rule of thumb,
or felt
like I think like when I think of the great men that I want to emulate, I don't know who they are from them. Right? Like I don't think I don't think I do. Like I'm just
Goggins? You don't get inspired by Goggins?
No, not as much as other men for that very reason. Because I
Jocko Willink?
So Jocko Willink doesn't talk about himself unless he's asked, though. Like, so this is, I think that's my point, is like Goggins is more what you're, I think that pushback's fair.
Sure.
I think Goggins has inspired me at times, but where I get off the train with Goggins is I'm like, really seems like you're trying to prove something. Really seems like now it really seems like you're trying to prove something. It does seem like that to me. And again, but I'm not even saying my lens is perfect. I'm just wrestling because I think your wrestle was right. I think because there are areas where I think the society, right?
Yeah.
They look at men, they're like, anytime you say your success, it's just making me uncomfortable. So you shouldn't talk about them. I don't like that at all. I think I also just in my own life, and again, maybe this is where the subjectivity plays in, is like, the areas where I'm strong, I know other people know it. And I think I'm just going to continue to discipline myself there and drive. And then like Noah, you even just talked about your brother-in-law. Like I wonder, like, I don't know your brother-in-law, but I know your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
But I know your brother-in-law because you've told me the areas. Like a lot of the guys in my life don't know Sam, but they know Sam because I'll say I have this brother who's like getting after it and really inspires me to want to get after it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel like when we take the narrative into our own hands, and maybe that's a challenge for you, Sam, but maybe it's also,
I totally get where you're coming from, because it does. It feels awkward. And I really don't openly share. I mean, other than, in the office, I talk about CrossFit a lot, right? But I mean,
or here where we're broing out and talking.
No, but seriously, I mean, there is an intimateness, because I've been around people where it's like, you're flaunting, like you're peacocking right now.
That's right.
What you're doing.
That's right. Yeah. Tall poppy syndrome. And then everyone else is going to want to cut.
Right.
Instead of be inspired, I think.
Yep. I think the thing that I'm trying to get to, and I think this is why it's important that men who are listening understand this, is we have to wrestle in the point of things that the example of other brothers or things that might be said during this podcast might push you in a way where it's like, that's really good for you. That's great for you, dude. Sure. But it's like, no, this is actually
wrestle with it.
You have to engage the fight in your life. What I am not saying is that everyone has to do CrossFit, or everyone has to have a six pack, or everyone has to lift a bunch of weight. What I am saying though is, if you struggle with laziness, you've got to fight it.
You got to fight it.
You've got to
be aware of it.
If you struggle with anxiety, you've got to fight it. Like you've got to engage what the fight is.
Agreed.
And you can't just sit there and be like, oh, that makes me feel uncomfortable.
Agreed.
It's like, dude, if you struggle with activity, then be active. Like you have to wage war on your body.
Yes.
St. Augustine said that the man who can conquer himself, the world lies at his feet. When you engage self-discipline,
for sure,
you are free. Like that is what freedom is disciplining your mind, your body, everything. And so I think I just want to be in a place in this podcast where we can say, I'm not going to let what pokes me or pushes me stop me. But then I'm also not going to do it in a way where it's peacocking or self-promoting. Like, and I think we're getting at the point where I think we're
well, that's a tightrope to walk, right? That's a tightrope to walk, because like the reality is anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Right. So like if you're working on doing the thing where you do let your light shine, you're going to do it badly. And just continue to examine your life and let it come down, right? Like if Brad's trying to get better at not burying his talents, but actually like letting it be known, like, yeah, I like speaking and I'm good at it, or I like this and I'm good at it. Yeah. Like, but then constantly examining myself of like, okay, what was I intending to do when I said that? Because that makes you just better. It makes you better. Because sometimes that answer for me is I was trying to inspire this person to know that they can own their strengths. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's, I want to flatter this person. Like I want them to know that I have a status immediately. And I am constantly, just so that everybody, you guys know this, but like, I'm always wrestling with this in my own life. Like, what am I saying that's for the upbuilding of that person? And what am I saying for the upbuilding of me? What am I do? Like, and I don't mean that we shouldn't hear what I'm saying, not what I'm not. I'm not saying we shouldn't build ourselves up, but I mean like that inflation style of like the ego, which is what we're getting back to. But I'm in complete agreement. We have to wrestle with that. Like, because if you are just the type of person that gets triggered when someone says they're doing something you're not doing because you wish you were doing it, you have to fight that just as much as any person who's saying it because because I just have, like the Trump thing, the Trump Tower, right? Like Trump Tower could be just as amazing without huge gold letters that say Trump on it. So it does make me wonder sometimes, like how much of that is self-aggrandizement. And I do think some of it's self-aggrandizement. Now, to what degree? Like, is some of that just good marketing and it's actually for the sake of a brand that's giving a bunch of people jobs? Mm-hmm. I think that's that argument can be made.
But yeah, and I'm not trying to be argumentative.
No, I want it.
I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying that, like, even that though, like a building, it's like what made the building great wasn't the fact that it's a cool building. It's about the person who built it. Right. Like
sure.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I've never actually really seen Trump Tower. So I don't know if is the only delineating factor that says Trump on it.
No. Yeah. Well, like the one in Chicago, literally is a huge building and it just says Trump on it.
Okay. So would you say it's as cool of a building without the Trump words on it?
Yeah.
It's that cool of a building.
So what I'm saying is I think that the effect that building can have is equal, even if the name's not on it. Because people can say, have you ever been to Trump Tower? It's down at whatever address. Yeah. You should go in there. It's unbelievable.
Sure.
But something about like this, like natural, like pull to like, I think promote. I think it does.
So
bother
this
me.
is, yeah.
Because like we call the Lincoln Monument, like the Lincoln Memorial was named by other people because Lincoln rocked. Yeah. The Washington Monument was named after Washington by other people. Washington didn't go, I shall build a monument.
I think for me, it's like to build something you're proud enough to put your name on it. So like, that's where it's like, okay, that's
sure. Yeah. That's the other side of the coin.
He's not out there being like,
it's the other side of the coin.
But this is why it's like the whole idea of the line we have to ride. Right.
Yeah,
so, this is when we were talking about basketball quite a lot. I mean, I go back to that moment because I really don't like Luka Doncic. I don't.
Yeah, sure.
But like people would be like, well, Jordan trash talked. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, LeBron trash talks, right?
Yeah. They taunt.
Okay. The difference though is Luka Doncic in front of the whole crowd is yelling, you can't effing guard me.
Yeah.
He's pushing someone down in order to elevate himself.
He's promoting. Yeah.
Right. Whereas I actually, over countless interviews I've seen with Jordan and LeBron,
sure.
I've never seen them be like, yeah, that dude effing sucked.
Yeah.
Or like, no, there's respect and honor to the team. It was always in the ear.
My
right? It was always private,
was their
right?
greatness.
Yep. Yeah. It was private to some degree as opposed to this thing. And the reason why I'm kind of going there is because I actually think the world needs great men. Like I think that and that's what this whole conversation is about. The world needs more great men. It's
men worth emulating.
Yes.
Men worth imitating.
Men that aren't sitting there saying, come look at me, but make a monument out of their life that is like, I'm attracted to who you made yourself to be.
Sure.
And there is always this tension between, well, who you've made yourself to be. Don't like, I mean, in this Christian lingo, there's this like, I believe kind of this bull crap of like, don't strive. Like, you don't have to, no, you've got to work for it. You have to work for virtue. You have to work in your life to make yourself better. Like we need more men that are humble. We need more men that are patient. We need more men that are kind. We need more men that are
magnanimous, like the other side of the coin. Yep.
And so there has to be that, but it doesn't happen by just saying, God help me. It's got to happen through a fight. And so that's where
I agree. Before I move us to PO, your thoughts on the promotion versus giving something worth emulating, imitating. I think that's kind of a fair.
Trump
I think
Tower.
that's the thing. Well, that's the example.
I think so. I mean, you get the Blaise Pascal quote, right? All of men's issues stem from man's inability to sit
in a room alone for 1 hour.
For 1 hour, yeah. And so with that quote, it comes right back to what I'm talking about here. I think how do you do this well? You have to analyze your life.
Yeah.
So
you have to know yourself.
My thing is like, there's a lot of men out there who never push, and they look back and they it's the man in the arena. They look and they criticize the guy who's pushing, right? If I had to say what I'm hearing from both of you guys, go 100% at both and analyze what parts of you were doing things that you shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly.
Exactly.
Go out and
it's
do.
Okay, great. I'm of course we need men who are going to stand up and be the freaking model of what it looks like to get after it. Of course we need a lot of men who aren't in a, as you would put, a dog measuring contest.
Yeah,
right. Like we need men on, we need both, and we need both in the Senate. Like we need both in you, if you're listening. Exactly. As a model. And so how do you figure that out? Well, you have to be aware of your shortcomings. You have to accept those shortcomings. You then have to work your butt off to get out of those shortcomings.
To own.
And when you do that, you'll be ready to not, like, you'll be so self-possessed that you'll be ready to be gift. And when you're a gift, it's not about building Trump Tower. It's about building a tower to give people jobs because you're giving, right? And it's not about not about the, like that's the point. And so I think the thing that we will know it's not about us when it's a gift to others.
Yes, and you'll know that when you examine your life, right? I think that's good.
One of the best quotes I've ever heard that I go back to all the time is, who you are is God's gift to you, and who you become is your gift back to God.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think it sums up in this, right? It's, I've been given something that I can't merit. I can't, earn. And now it's my chance to cultivate, to steward, and to give back.
That reminds me of a quote that kind of like partners with it of, humility is being who you are on your knees before God, nothing more and nothing less. Humility is being what you are on your knees before God, nothing more, nothing less. So when all the accolades, achievements, everything fades, it's everything you are in that moment, nothing more, but also nothing less. And that's that balance. Nothing more. It's not an inflation, but it's not less. It's not a demotion. It's exactly who this man right here is.
One of my other favorite quotes is, "Let's get PO'd."
Let's get PO'd. We're moving to the principal objective. The principal objective, PO from last episode. Just as a reminder, we'll check in on that first, and then we'll kind of move to, based on the conversation we're having here, things we want to implement in our lives. Noah, you were going to jump into new eating routine and not fall into analysis paralysis. How have you done?
I've been balling out.
Is that right?
I've legit been balling out. I will say this. I'll be fully honest. So I've been killing it. I've actually enjoyed it because of my competitive window. So I'm doing like calorie counting and protein counting. And I am like addicted to it.
Nice.
I will say this. My grandparents' 60th wedding anniversary, Saturday night into Sunday.
Yeah, gotcha.
There's a certain aunt that makes peanut butter fudge.
Yeah, that's
and
a problem.
I like hammered it. It.
Well, that's good for the protein counting, maybe not for the calorie counting.
And then a lot of sugar counting. But and then the next day, I definitely ate some roosters with a dude, with a good friend of mine, So let's just say that today I'm on a major cutback. I've been rocking the water fast life today.
Yeah,
because I got to catch up. But
that's worth celebrating.
But I'm kicking butt.
Come on,
I'm actually like shocked at myself.
Way to go, bro.
I love it. Heck yeah. And then Sam, fight for relationship with wife and kids.
Yeah.
Dream journal.
You're kicking butt and I'm sucking ass. I did terrible. I don't think I did it once since we last.
Yeah. Okay.
I think internally in my mind, like
but you're moving.
I was recalling the things and trying to be like, I didn't sit down with a physical journal and do it. Right. So, I engaged the practice in my mind a few times. Good. But I think this is the cool thing is you guys hear me talk about other things in my life.
And then
this is a moment
and then we own it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the principal objective too. It's like, oh man, I missed like that part, but that doesn't mean we can't do it moving from here.
Right.
And owning failure and success is both critical to masculinity.
Absolutely.
Mine was to fight for morning and evening routine. I've been really proud of my evening routine. So I'm sitting down at the end of my day, reflecting on my day, just giving time to the Lord in prayer. And that's been huge for my rhythm because I just waste time at night. That's a huge fault of mine.
Me too.
And so I've been disciplining myself instead of trying to fit a bunch of stuff in the morning. I'm like, that's devoted time at night right before I go to sleep. It's been sweet. Morning routine. Eliza started waking up about 30 minutes earlier than she had been for like a month. And so the moment I started moving, and not even exaggerating, I'm like, I don't really want to get up earlier than I was already intending. Yeah. So like the morning side, has been all over the place. Yeah. Well, because and Nina working full time, like she's out the door, so I'm with Eliza one-on-one some in the morning time, and I'm just like, man, I don't know how to fit this rhythm yet, but I still, it's still in my mind as a passion of mine. Yeah. Like I need to get it going, but the evening side has been solid. Yeah. Conversation today, redeem the fight, principal, objective, PO for you guys moving towards next episode. Just anything stand out?
Yeah. I mean, I think what I'm hearing is like this theme of how do we need to full send it, right? So we need to give everything, but how do we know when we're sucking at giving everything? And how do we know when we're missing the boat at giving everything? And I think that man's inability to sit alone in a room for an hour is what all man's issues stem from. That is something that I've been allowing myself to give up a lot recently. I think like I used to be very serious about an hour alone in silence every morning when I wake up. And I think I've been like, okay, well, if I cut back here, I can get a little bit more sleep, which makes it 30 minutes or 45 or whatever. And then, I could get, if I sleep in here, I know I'm going to have an hour after work where I could slide it in. It's like, no, when I wake up in the morning, I need to be committed to an hour in silence before the Lord. And just being in that place of analyzing my life, making sure I'm living for the right reasons, making sure I'm doing what I said I would do. And diving in right when I wake up in the morning. And so, that's my PO this week is wake up out of bed, go sit in that chair and be alone, silent in a room for that hour.
Yeah, nice. I love it.
Yeah. I think I'm going to get after, the whole discipline side of things. So that message we wear on our wrist of discipline is freedom. I think there's things where you get to a point where you're like, what used to be hard for me isn't quite as hard for me anymore, right? So I used to really hate the idea of like, getting up at this time or working out. It was like, there was like more effort involved. And now it's like, this is like actual virtue, right? It's like, this has actually become enjoyable, or this has become like, I enjoy this now. I still hate taking cold showers. And so I think that when I was thinking about how can I discipline myself further, I think I'm just going to try to take cold showers between now and our next episode, just to try to discipline myself.
Yeah. I love that. Something that stood out to me is just in your pushback, actually, Sam, was just, I have a natural tendency to count my failures much more than my successes. And I actually think it's a weakness of mine. And I have like a progress pentagon that I've made that has 5 points that are just different arenas of my life that I always assess in that nighttime thing. But usually when I'm assessing them and I'm trying to be aware of myself so I can accept it and possess it, it's all the areas I'm failing that I'm trying to do that process with. I think what I'm going to commit to between now and next episode is actually do that with my successes too. Like I want to be aware of those so I can accept them, because Brad's an amalgam of successes and failures. And I want to just bring that in my prayer time and just bring that to light with the Lord and just be like, hey, yeah, I'm failing in these areas, but I'm also succeeding in these areas. So help me to grow here, but thanks for the grace here, and then continue to get on with it.
Yep, for sure.
That's my principal objective for the time between now and next episode.
We experienced transformation in this episode because we went from Mr. Goldmember over here.
That's right.
Where I didn't think I was going to pull it together.
We didn't know we'd come back.
And then he starts talking about Richard Head over here. And then I'm like you were going on, and I'm like, there's no way I'm getting to this today.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I said nothing for like 3 straight minutes, just trying
to get us going. I didn't even hear what you said.
I believed in us.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't.
Don't cut any of that.
No, I agree.
That's
just gold. I agree.
Gold member.
Okay. Well, if you've joined us for this long, we're grateful for it. Rediscover, redeem, respond. That's the heart of masculinity. And we'll see you next time.
Don't pitch your penis.
That's right.